I think the big thing is there's no perfect time. There's a perfect time for you and your family, but there's no perfect time in the market. Really start working on a game plan. If buying is the goal, start mapping that out. If selling is the goal, let's see what that looks like. And all throughout Northern Virginia, we're seeing new builders offer incentives for closing costs. They're offering, they've bought their interest rates in bulk ahead of all the happenings in the market. I've been with other brokers, and there's a culture that I like about Real Broker, River City Leaders. Buying a home is one of the biggest purchases you'll ever make. Selling a home is also one of the biggest, transactions you're going to do. And so I take it seriously. I take your time seriously.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Refined Mindsets. I am excited because Angela and I go way back. Sorry, I just kind of teased. So we have Angela Brown with the Brown Realty Group. And just a little bit of kind of team. Sorry, thank you. You're right. Team. Sorry. We got to make sure, our business entity licenses are correct. But today, one of the things that are exciting is Angela Brown is, pretty up in the organizational chart in the school system, and also a producing agent, and has lots of experience, lots of knowledge. So thank you, Angela, for coming. We're excited to talk about, your school background history, your real estate career and things, and also why, you teamed up with River City Elite. So thank you for being on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, I love it. I'm so excited. No, which is awesome. I mean, we've had good history. I think we actually met on a rental many years ago. Funny enough, right?
Yeah,
funny enough. So I love it. Okay. So I'm going to call you Ange because that's what I'm used to calling you. So Ange, so tell me a little bit about your background in terms of what got you into the school system, the school world.
So I started many moons ago. I won't tell you how many, but I did a program called Teach for America and was out in Houston and came back to Virginia, my home state, and just kind of, I went from teaching to school counseling to administration and all the things. And so I've always had a love for children, for educating.
So they have programs that you can go to Houston? I guess it happened to be in Houston at that time.
Well, yeah. So Teach for America, they place you in, wherever the greatest need is, whether it's extremely urban or extremely rural. And I landed in 4th Ward, Houston. Started my career. Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. So you've been, and kind of, I think now your role as a counselor in a school, but you have, and you may need to explain because, you always tell me and I'm like, what does that mean? So you have like an administrator license. So technically you can be like a principal, right? Can you explain a little bit about that?
Yeah. So did all the, schooling course. I did school counseling for a while, but then I went back and got my administrator's license at GW. And so I did some, administrative type work for the school system and sort of mixed roles. But yeah, I could be a principal if I wanted to.
Ooh, I like that. Which is awesome because, and this in that profession, there's a lot of people like that's their career. That's their goal. They don't even want to do anything else. They don't want to have another business. They don't want to do another, hobby. That's like their life. And so I'm excited to hear what got you from, being able to have that role of a school administrator, the possibility of yelling at kids, I'm kidding, as being a principal, to still wanting to have that urge to grow your business, right? So let's talk a little bit about that. How did it come about? What, you're on the path of, superintendent, I don't know, I'm making that up. What got you into I like real estate? Well, how did that come about?
So it was kind of crazy. So when we purchased our first home, probably a year before our first son was born, I had really great rapport with the realtor. And he was like, yeah, you would totally rock, your personality, your energy. And so we had all this conversation about, he's trying to tell me what that might look like. So I was like, yeah, I'm completely interested. This was, I don't know, '07 or something. And so he was telling me all about it. So then when it came down to it, he was like, wait, I don't need another me. he thought I would be, kind of in competition with him. I was like, no, I'm just trying to, I'm just trying to get in the game. And what he really wanted was a ISA, what I'm saying? He really wanted something, and he thought that it would be too much alpha energy. And so fast forward, driving home from a long day at school with all the beautiful darling children. It's gotta be more, right? It's gotta, I was just drained, like really drained. I didn't feel like I had an outlet. I just felt like, man, it's gotta. And I literally walked into a brokerage and I was like, they were like, well, we're closed, hon. But I was so amped that the lady said, well, hold on, let me see it. Let me see if the broker is still here. And so she went in the back and said something. And the next time I know, the lady came out and said, come on the back. And by the time I told her my story, she was paying for me to take the class. She paid for my book, everything. I mean, she was like, oh, I want you. And then that's just kind of how it all started.
Wow. I love that. No, it's, and it's, it's very easy to just fall along the lines of kind of in that comfort zone of, well, this is it. I may not be happy. I may not, or let me rephrase. I may want more, but I have a secure job. I have this. I don't need to do more. And yet you chose to say, that's not my life by design. That's my life by default, right? That's like, there's more to it than that. I think retirement is great, of course, but there's still more to life than a 401k or VRS or whatever it is. It's sad that I know all this. You know what I'm saying? So I love that. I love that. So, being, I mean, again, you being in the school system full time, then kind of learning the ropes in real estate. What was some, and I'm gonna be honest, I'm gonna be honest. There's a lot of agents that go from dual career to full time, or they're successful in both. And a lot of the challenges is probably time blocking is what I hear first and foremost. What are some, if that is a challenge, what are some other challenges and maybe some advantages that gave you a little bit, one up learning real estate from your career before or career at the same time?
Well, I think one of the advantages being an educator, you're working with students, you're working with families. So I was used to talking to people, talking to everybody from all walks of life, businesses. And so that kind of was like the transferable skill, right? So, coming to real estate is relationships. And so being able to build those relationships, and that was a natural thing for me. Challenges, you gotta have energy. You gotta, like you said, time blocking. You gotta, be organized, being organized, because you have your task at work, you have your task, you have your, must do's with real estate as well. So organization was key.
Was key to do it. No, that's awesome. That's awesome. Get up from. So the challenge is really time blocking, right? It sounds because, and correct me if I'm wrong, Ange, like in a school system environment, you're not really just working like 9 to 5. There's a lot of extra hours, right?
It can be. I mean, sometimes they have programs, award ceremonies, back to school nights, you name it. They have all the things. So you really gotta figure it out.
You gotta figure it out. No, I love that. I love that. So, and when we kind of look at kind of like having the mindset and because it's you have kids, great husband, the goal I'm sure with real estate was, to help, right? It's a bigger, another source, another way to kind of live that life by design. Being in that you've been in the business for a while now, in real estate for a while, being consistent, because we all know after 2 years, there's a big percentage that leave. How does that being consistent, like accomplishments you have done with, aside from the school, but that extra real estate, transactions, like how has that helped your family grow when look, I could just stay here and be comfortable, but you're really to push yourself? How has that affected in a good way with your family?
Well, real estate, I mean, it definitely has given us that, that extra source of income, right? So it allows for all the extras in terms of like the vacation money and things for the, for the boys. I have two teenage sons who need everything. And so it just keeps us from, going into the bottom line really, and just setting things in place to have, I don't want to say a nest egg, but sort of, yeah. It just makes things a little bit more, in Northern Virginia, this area is like super expensive, so all the extras matter. So
No, I love that. I love that. It is another great source, and I'm sure it's helped you with the knowledge to purchase more homes, have investments, and help
yeah,
family members and things like that, which is awesome. So, I mean, in that challenging time where, like I said, and you said, it's more than just a 9 to 5. Some roles as administrator, you're doing, more than you were as a counselor. You've done different roles. What kind of mindset is it needed to say, you know what, I don't want to just fall back into that default? How do I continue to stay in that life by design? Like, to stay in production, to stay learning based, to committing to self-mastery. What kind of mindset did you need, or do you have to implement to stay focused on real estate at the same time as your other career?
so for me, it's sort of like passion and purpose. I've always felt like, education was that purpose, but this is my passion, so real estate. And so, when there's downtime, and there will be, maybe it's lunch, maybe I'm looking at a podcast, maybe I'm reading, what's happening in the market, or it might be a quick call on the way to work, or I might get a few texts in there as I'm leaving. So you always, kind of, carving in and working in those things to keep your business moving. And of course, networking, you're always networking.
Well, you're probably
and I don't, look, wife, mom, realtor.
Oh, I love that. And I'm sure there's probably a lot of your coworkers. Hey, can you help me? We have the goal. We want to do this. Can you help us set up the game plan? Like that, like you said, networking.
Sometimes they just have questions about real estate, like, well, should I do this or should I do that? Just being able to offer that, they already trust me as an educator. So then if I tell them, you want to think about this thing, or you want to look at this, they're more inclined to listen, because, we have that rapport, and they trust the insight, and they know I know my craft.
I love it. No, and that is a big thing that, and one of the things I think that from hearing what you just said is like that intentionality, that purposefulness, right? Is you can still build a business and maintain a business, and you don't really have to put in another 8 hours or 9 or 10. It's about intentionality, right? Especially as a real estate agent, as you know this, there's a lot of things we can do, and yet some of the things don't make sense until we focus on what is our one thing we need to focus on, right? And like you said, some downtime, driving home, driving that, it's about building and consistently strengthening those relationships. So I love that. I mean, there's agents that are full-time that don't do that. So like that's an awesome thing. So with that business growing, and continuing to grow with your career, like how do you prioritize family, business? How do you keep that counterbalance, that balance, without being burnt out? Like, what do you guys do as a family, time blocking, things like that?
So I mean, obviously, God over everything, at least in our household, right? And then, I'm wife and mom, and so that's sort of the priority, and then, of course, real estate. My kids understand mom loves her, this is what she does, mom. Okay, like now they know I'm in here, they're not coming in here. They know.
I love it.
They know this is what I'm doing. Everybody's good, everybody's gonna eat, everybody's fine. And then being able to tag team, my husband is amazing. Mm-hmm. And so he's probably down there cooking something or whatever. And that's what we do, and we take time out to do family activities, but I need to know, when is the wrestling match and when is the basketball, put those things on the calendar, so that if I have to go to, show a home, or I'm meeting with someone, we can all, get those other things done, but we kind of work around the calendar and what needs to happen.
No, and that's great. I mean, it's just like a real estate team. Everyone has a role in the goal. You guys are a team at home. Everyone has a role in the goal, right? Because it's not just, all right, I close an extra 10 deals, I'm buying a Ferrari. It goes to the family, probably the kids first. But, it goes into the family fund. It goes into that generational wealth. It goes into extended family, right? And we talked about it, like, it's really just focusing on the intentionality. That's it. It's not, hey, go build a house, Angela, tomorrow. No, it's just focus on what you do well consistently. That is the biggest thing. So I love that. I love that family support. So, we're in 2025, allegedly. I'm kidding. We're in 2025. The market, especially in our area, in that DMV, DC, Maryland, Virginia, has been different, as you've seen in the last couple of probably months to a year now. What are some things that you want buyers to know, or even sellers to know, who are hesitant? They're like, Angela, I really want to buy, but I'm scared of this, or I'm worried of this, or I really want to downsize, I really want to upsize. What are some things you really, you want to let people know who are hesitant about either purchasing or selling right now?
I think the big thing is there's no perfect time. There's a perfect time for you and your family, but there's no perfect time in the market. There's no perfect, perfect storm. We've seen so much, volatility in different areas, but we know that, while you're waiting on interest rates to go down, prices are going up. While sellers are waiting to get the top dollar, they could be in a prime opportunity when there's, lower inventory in certain areas. So that perfect, get it out of your mind, get out of your mind, and really start working on a game plan. If buying is the goal, start mapping that out. If selling is the goal, let's see what that looks like, and kind of what's your timeline for your home, for your family, and we work from that point.
I love that. I love that, and that would probably be, like you said, the biggest encouragement is it's the game plan, right? It's the game plan. Like,
it can be done. People are doing it. I was just at working with some buyers, and they're in one of those price points. You're like, well, you're still buying, prices, they are what they are in this area, right? But yes. They looked at a new build because that's what worked for them. That interest rate was favorable, under 5%. So where there's a will, there's a way, and there's an option. So it's just a matter of looking for those things, and it can be found and working toward the goal.
So wait, hold on. Under 5%. Tell us more about that. Please tell us where are you finding certain builders are giving that? Please elaborate.
Yeah, so a lot of the new builds, they're giving incredible, because they buy in bulk, the interest rates in bulk, and so it kind of shields them from all the happenings of the market. And so they're able to offer all these incentives, and all throughout Northern Virginia, we're seeing new builders offer incentives for closing costs. They're offering, they've bought their interest rates in bulk ahead of all the happenings in the market. And so they're able to, just really meet buyers where they are and get them in that price point they want to be in for that mortgage payment.
Yeah. Wow. So for people out there that, I think in general, we may not see 4% in a while in general, but you're saying there's builders that of that are, for new construction, and some of these are immediate delivery, right? Like they're not like build to they're already spec'd out. They're not built to options or anything like that.
Yeah, some of them are quick move in, so you don't have to worry about, you're starting at this price point, you're in, at this one. They literally have done everything, and then maybe they have some additional inventory and they're moving it, and so it's just to be had.
No, and I'd say, and we'll talk about for ones that are, for the ones that have questions on this, to get under 5%. We may not see that in a while, so that is a key that you definitely will get to your information out there so people can reach out. So I wanted to kind of segue into now we have the honor to have you with River City Elite Properties and Real Brokerage, right? So tell us a little bit about kind of, why you decided to join River City and Real Broker, kind of like how does that support with your overall goal and your overall kind of alignment with your family's goal?
So, I've been with, other brokers, and there's a culture that I like about Real Broker. River City Elite is smaller in the sense that it's more like that, family atmosphere. They send me a card on my birthday. They don't do that in big brokerages. I know it sounds like a little thing, but it's more personal. And that's kind of my approach to real estate. It's relationships, it's personal, it's not, number 496, check. It's not all about just, are you in my downline and how many dollars can you make me? But it's really about your growth as a professional. And it's just what it was a good fit for me. Yeah.
I love that. No, that's great. And then, there's also that other part of, the Real Broker aspect as well, since, it's River City Elite that's essentially does business as Real Broker. So I love that. So the alignment of your goals, alignment of, your team, continue to grow. Because that's one thing that River City Elite has always been about, is we don't want the brokerage to be bigger than the agents, right? We want to empower and continue to invest in the agents that are investing back so they can be bigger than the brokerage, right? And then there's a lot of growth opportunity, which is awesome. So tell us, Angela, and I appreciate the time, and this is great information. A lot of things that I didn't even know, about like the school in Houston, all that stuff. So what areas do you serve in, like the DC area? If someone's like, hey, I'm thinking about buying or selling, what areas do you serve? And I know we can do everywhere, but what areas you serve the most?
So, I'm licensed in Virginia and Maryland. I primarily focus, I do on Northern Virginia, right? So really anywhere, Fredericksburg, Northwest, east of there, is what I serve. A lot of business over the years has been in, the kind of that Alexandria, Arlington, Fairfax County area, is really a good bulk of business. But yeah, I go where the need is, but that pretty much covers it.
I love it. And we're going to put in the description. What's the best way to reach you? Someone wants to set up that game plan, talk about that. What is it? -4%? I'm kidding. Great. But
right.
Someone wants to talk about that 4% rate. How can someone reach you? And we can put it in the description.
Sure. So best number is 703-635-6802. Or they can reach me at Angela@rivercityeliteproperties.com.
I love it. And lastly, I know I've been bombarding you with questions, but this is great information. What can Angela expect? What can clients expect when they're working with Angela? Like, what is that one, thing? I know what it is, but I want them to know, like that one, man, like that is that unique value proposition.
I aim for, excellence in everything that I do. Right. So buying a home is one of the biggest purchases you'll ever make. Selling a home is also one of the biggest, transactions you're going to do. And so I take it seriously. I take your time seriously. I make sure, I dot my I's, I cross my T's. Follow up is, people say, man, you follow up fast, man, I will. And that's what I do. I try to be personable. I try to explain, I'm an educator at heart. So if you don't understand, then I don't understand, because I want you to be able to tell me what is happening. And the process, along with the things aren't happening to you, they're happening with you. And so that's what I do. I love this work, and
that's awesome. No, I love it. That's definitely great. And Angela, thank you for being, here, especially, that's the story, the inspiration of having, administrative license in the school system, that probably great retirement, all that, to still being able to balance multiple careers, helping, probably tens of hundreds of clients that you've worked with directly or indirectly, right? Still being able to have family goals, and still accomplishing that. And so, if anyone's considering looking at buying or selling, like Angela said, in Northern Virginia, Fredericksburg area, Maryland, especially if you want those 4% rates that apparently, that the builders are offering, which is great. Definitely reach out to Angela. And thank you for being on the show. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, everyone. And don't forget to comment, subscribe.